So you come from a, fairly developed, organized ecosystem, part of Hollywood setup, and all of that. You come here to India, yeah, and you start something which is fairly, non-existent really. It's been there. I mean, few others had done it.
Sure.
So what was your trigger? I mean, let's understand what we, started this whole thing evening by. What was the purpose behind Satyam's foray to start MIDS, not just the why MIDS, why animation?
There are different experiences in our lives, I suppose, from where you draw inspiration to foray into something that you've not really done before. And the fact that I had worked in Hollywood on a couple of films that were very visual effects and animation intensive made me feel that this is an art form or a technology form which is non-existent or very less existent in India at this point in time. So how could I possibly be an instrument to bridge that gap and bringing it into India? And the first thought that came to my mind was to possibly start an animation studio. I incidentally also happen to come from an entertainment and media family. My father is a television producer who's done about 20-25 different soaps and sitcoms for many different television channels. So I also had a platform in which sense I was rather lucky as compared to somebody who doesn't really have a platform. But I ended up into an education business because the economics of doing a studio did not really make sense to me. So in that sense, I'm a first generation entrepreneur. So when I started setting up a studio and I started looking for the trained manpower to run that studio, I didn't find any. And the ones who I found were demanding like 5 lakh rupees a month of remuneration, which obviously I had a very limited amount of capital. So I thought that what if this art form has to grow in India. Whatever has happened anywhere else successfully in the world ultimately has to happen over here. And it will probably happen at a much larger scale a decade or 2 decades down the line. So I thought that what if an education system could be set up which could feed manpower into the animation and visual effects studios all across the country. That would be a great business proposal for me to get things rolling, And that's how I decided to put my money into that.
It's interesting because, when we talk about education world over, not just here, it's typical structure of, your subjects in order. You'll have your mathematics, you'll have your sciences, you'll have your, rest of the technicalities, and bottom of the stack is art. And what I think I just connected with so strongly is the way he described animation as an art form. I was just yesterday having dinner with someone who's senior in the film industry. They were saying that art is going out of Bollywood. It's getting so technical. But this is where I got the answer. It's a different form of art. Now, what we need to connect with, friends, here is the mindset, is the way, the perspective with which you look and you talk about your business is so important. Yeah. So it's interesting, but tell me, it's often said and now accepted that whatever is there is not how it will be here. So animation or whatever is, you can't just cut, copy and paste a model from the US, from the Western world, or a mindset from there and just paste it here.
Sure.
In this whole process of doing, setting up an education model in animation or digital entertainment, in India, what is it that you faced in terms of, apart from not being able to get faculty? What do you see are the key mindset issues, challenges, or what you're facing around as you're moving along?
Again, like you mentioned the word mindset. Mindset was the first basic hindrance, obstacle that I think I faced. We are a nation which has been heavily driven by engineering. Every family in this country wants to have their child become an engineer or a doctor. So goes the cliched saying, right? So is it possible for somebody, a person who is probably over the age of 50, 55, and has lived and seen India develop in its own traditional way, to actually imbibe and digest the fact that his or her child would actually be making cartoons for a living? You know, it's very, very difficult. My child will actually be playing video games and make loads of money. I think that is something which is a concept that even me or our generation will probably have a hard time digesting, you know. But it is a multi-billion-dollar industry today. Around the world, animation along with video gaming is close to a $65 billion industry, and it's developing at almost a 72% CAGR, compounded annual growth rate, in India. There is so much of gap to be filled. And today, within the animation industry, what we've seen in terms of the films coming out has been purely mythology. We've seen a Hanuman happen, we've seen a Krishna happen, we are going to be seeing a Rama happen and Arjuna happen. But it's going to break away from that whole mytho path, you know. In our movies, the demigods are our heroes. I mean, we go and watch Shah Rukh Khan and Akshay Kumar. But what the animation industry is grappling and trying to figure out right now is that who's going to be a hero for us. Hanuman is somebody who all of us have grown up with, reading books. Our moms have told us about Hanuman Chalisa, Hanuman is the Superman of the country or whatever. But then when you break away and try to make a Shrek, or when you try to make a Finding Nemo, how do you actually, there's a creative person in all of us. We come out of a movie and we think that, yaar, ye pasand nahi aaya. I wish this could have been done like that. The story was not so good, the acting was not so good. So why are we thinking like that? Because all of us are creative. You know, so, but that creative aspect should not be limited only amongst the discussion with our friends or families. It needs to surface out of that and be projected and put into the practice of your business or work or whatever you're doing in your life, you know. So I think I wear my creative hat fairly often, but business is what is at the core of it. I feel that my energy and my mind is waiting to leap out of my body at times, and I want to pack so much into the short life that has been given to us and do much more than what I have done so far. Which, you know, just trailing which I'll just like to make one more point, is that anything that is not dynamic will die. Okay, I guess I'm digressing a little bit.
No, you're selling right now.
Okay. You have to be thinking what next before you finish doing what you're doing right now. And I'm not trying to say that don't focus 100% of your energies on what you're doing right now, what's there on your plate currently, but simultaneously somewhere in the back of your mind you have to be thinking what's next. Because if you are not thinking like that, somebody else will race ahead of you, and believe you me, you really, I mean, it's not going to be easy to sustain. So the market is evolving very quickly. You have to be very, very dynamic. So I'd like to just take a couple of minutes to talk about the new project that I'm working on, which is an extension of what I have done so far. So MIDS has been in existence for about 4 years now, and we pride ourselves to be in the education business. But I felt that ultimately, all said and done, animation is a niche industry. So what is the next level that I can possibly achieve? I might be able to do a 50-center setup, but I don't think I can think about a multi-hundred crore corporate just being into an animation education industry. So I started looking for trigger points, you know, and when you sort of internalize and start thinking that what is the next thing that I want to do, and keep looking for signals, or whatever it is that you're looking for signals for, they start coming to you, you know, in different shapes and forms and from places that you would never even expect they could come from. So I read an HRD ministry report by Mr. Kapil Sibal, who is the current education HRD minister, that said that almost 92% of our country's population between the ages of 15 and 32 do not have a vocational skill set to be employable. So they end up becoming house servants or drivers or, you know, whatever they may be. So what I decided was that how can we possibly take vocational education to these people all the way down to the villages of the country and figure out how the private education system that we have in the country for different fields can be standardized.